Good, happy Saturday morning, May 16, 2020. I'm Riley King, and welcome to this Saturday morning edition of Good Morning, New Hampshire. Rise and shine, everyone. Let's get this Saturday off to a good start. Grab your cup of coffee, sit back, relax, and enjoy some Good Morning, New Hampshire, where we have a little bit of everything for everyone in this program. So let's get this Saturday morning edition of Good Morning, New Hampshire off to a good start. But first, we're going to begin with your news. We're going to start with local news first. First up, Governor announces $595 million in relief money for New Hampshire businesses and other sectors. 8 new COVID-19 related deaths reported. Let's take a listen to that video from WMUR News 9.
When you cut lawns for a living, reliability matters. The Kubota commercial lineup with purpose-built mowers like
$595 million is on its way out the door in Concord, money allocated from New Hampshire's $1.25 billion share of the Federal CARES Act. The relief funding blast includes $50 million for hospitals, $60 million for nonprofits, $25 million for child care, $15 million for farm and food interests, $15 million for public higher ed, and another $30 million for forgivable loans to be administered by the Business Finance Authority. But the bulk of the money, $400 million, is going into a Main Street relief fund for small businesses.
One of my original ideas was to space out how this money was going to go. A little money today, a little money in a couple months, a little money down the road, always trying to manage where those needs might be. One area with nonprofits and businesses, we came to the real conclusion that the apex of need is now.
The governor says there will be more than $400 million left over to either extend the current response or address other considerations that may need a financial boost in the months ahead. On the pandemic front, while the death toll continues to mount in long-term care facilities, state health officials say there are a number of outbreaks coming under control.
What you'll see coming into next week, and I'm very hopeful over this weekend, we have 6 or 7 facilities that are at day 12 and 13 of their outbreak of having no new activity.
And the state says COVID-19 hospitalizations are up slightly right now, but they say that is because there are a number of patients who have essentially recovered, but they're waiting for a negative test before they can be moved into a rehab facility. Now, for more on that Main Street Relief Fund, which is likely to be a topic of interest in the weeks ahead, let's go live now to Mike Cronin.
Adam, businesses that qualify for this program have 2 weeks now to apply for the relief money. Tonight, Governor Sununu announcing $400 million will go to Main Street Relief and help small businesses across the state to pay their bills, mortgages, and taxes. The goal here is to give them some flexibility so they won't have to shut down permanently because of expenses. Any business with less than $20 million in revenue during the 2019 tax year should be eligible. After applying, Sununu says the state will figure out a way to guarantee a check to any small business that is seeking relief. It will not be done on a first-come, first-served basis.
We looked at maybe separating it out $100 million this month and $100 million down there and $100 million in a few months down the road. But boy, the need is really now. What we don't want to do is create a situation where we're holding on to dollars that could have been spent to help some of these small businesses.
And businesses that want to apply for the grant funding must complete a form by May 29th by visiting revenue.nh.gov. Reporting live in Concord, Mike Cronin, WMUR News 9.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. Now let's take a look at the COVID-19 in New Hampshire, what you need to know information. There are 3,464 number of people who have been tested positive for COVID-19 in New Hampshire. 1,432,45 number of people in the United States who tested positive. 159 number of deaths from COVID-19 in New Hampshire. 335 number of people who have been hospitalized with COVID-19 in New Hampshire, and 86,851 number of deaths from COVID-19 in the United States. This map of New Hampshire shows you where current cases of COVID-19 are in towns and cities of New Hampshire. Manchester, 513. And this map here shows you total cases in towns and cities of New Hampshire. Manchester, 796. These three charts here. Let's start with new cases each day in New Hampshire in the purple, daily new positive COVID-19 cases. In the orange, new hospitalizations, and in the red are the deaths. This chart here, current cases in the purple, current COVID-19 cases, in the orange, current hospitalizations. And this chart here, current positive total cases of COVID-19, total hospitalizations, red deaths, and in blue recovered. This chart here shows you by age group. This chart here shows you by female and male. This chart here shows you risk information. This chart here shows you percent race / ethnicity of New Hampshire population in cases, and this is New Hampshire population. Your common symptoms: fever, lack of smell, cough, chills, and difficult breathing, how it spreads, and prevention tips. And we're going to switch gears now. Let's go into national news. In national news, JCPenney files for bankruptcy. JCPenney filed for bankruptcy protection Friday. It's the latest retail giant to see its downfall heralded by the coronavirus crisis. The pandemic was the final blow to the 118-year-old company, struggling to overcome a decade of bad decisions, executive instability, and damaging market trends. And let's go into coronavirus live updates for the rest of the world. New York tourist arrested in Hawaii after posting beach photos. The U.S. COVID-19 death toll now stands at 87,568. Today's biggest developments: U.S. death toll surpasses 87,000. NYC tourist arrested in Hawaii for violating quarantine. And we're going to switch gears now. Let's go into weather. First, let's take a look at your radar right now. And as you can see on radar, we are all clear. Those thunderstorms that were in New Hampshire overnight moved, and now it is clear in New Hampshire. Your weather right now is mostly cloudy, 59 degrees. The weather for today, partly cloudy, high around 70, winds north-northwest at 15 to 25 miles per hour. And that is a look at your weather. We're going to switch gears now. Let's go into New Hampshire Life segment. In today's New Hampshire Life segment, fallen state troopers honored in a different way for Peace Officers Memorial Day. Normal service canceled due to the coronavirus pandemic. Let's take a listen to that video from WMUR News 9, Gene Mackin. Okay, we're having technical difficulties with the video. Sorry about that, everyone. New Hampshire state troopers found a way to honor their fallen despite Peace Officers Memorial Day events being canceled due to the coronavirus pandemic. Starting just after midnight, troopers stood at the Law Enforcement Officers Memorial in conquered. Throughout the day, others laid flowers at the gravestones of some of the fallen. And throughout the day, police radios broadcast a message honoring the 150 or so names added to the country's roll of honor each year. 2 troopers stopped at the grave for State Police Sergeant James Noyes, who died in the line of duty in 1994. His son, current State Police Colonel Nathan Noyes, said, "I think about him, and I'd know he would be proud of his family, and he would be proud of his state police. There is no doubt about that. I'm sure he's looking down on the patch that we all wear with pride," Noyes said. And we're going to switch gears now. Let's go into healthy eating. Eating less meat and more plants can be part of your self-care routine. Let's take a look at that video from GMA Digital.
When you think of self-care, do you think of plant-based diets? Maybe you should. We'll talk more about eating less meat, more plants, and how you can work that into your self-care routine. The Less Meat, More Plants challenge was a way that I wanted to challenge myself to get more color in my daily diet, get more fiber, get more micronutrients, and really do a nutritional and culinary experiment of sorts. I knew that my diet was really heavy in animal protein, and while that keeps me feeling good and it keeps my weight where I want it to, I know based on nutritional science data and medical science data that the more plants you eat, the better it is for your overall health. So this challenge is really about individualizing and modifying that works for you. So for me, I knew it wasn't practical to give up all meat completely. My goal was to reduce the amount of red meat or cut it out completely for a month. But with anything that's in your diet on a regular basis, you have to evaluate pros and cons. So, red meat can be healthy in moderation, but it has also been associated with an increased risk of certain types of cancers. The potential negative associations found with eating a diet that's high in red meat can be an increased risk of heart disease, an increased risk of colorectal cancer, in some cases an increased risk of breast cancer. And remember that when you talk about the association between eating a certain food and a health outcome, it's also important to remember what you're not eating if you're eating a lot of red meat. In terms of the benefit of adding more plant-based foods to your diet, so many. It can help with weight loss, weight management. It can help with satiety. It can help your gut microbiome. Some of those plants actually serve as probiotics and prebiotics for your GI tract. Definitely is a great source of fiber, vitamins, minerals, all kinds of nutrients that you may not be getting if you eat a lot of animal protein. Okay, so here are some tips if you want to do a challenge like this. Number 1, plan. I did that by talking to my daughter, my son, about what types of foods they thought I would be able to eat, what it would look like, pros and cons of doing something like this. So don't do this on the, spur of the moment kind of thing. The more planning, the better. The second thing is, if you're like me, I could eat the same thing basically every day. So I got a couple of dishes or meals that I felt met my criteria: no red meat, more plant-based protein, fruits and vegetables in general, and I repeated them a lot. I also researched some home delivery options that were affordable and plant-based. I found that to be really, really helpful in this whole process. Some that I would take with me as I went to work. Another really important tip is take baby steps. You can make some big changes in your nutritional habit or nutritional status in incremental steps. And for me, that was really key. I knew that if I had set out to avoid all animal protein completely, I would probably have failed on the third day of the month. So set a goal that's achievable, that seems challenging enough, but not insurmountable. And for me, that was really key. That's why I chose just removing one type of meat from my diet rather than all meat completely.
Okay, there you go. Good tips there. And let's switch gears now. Let's go into entertainment news. Mary-Kate Olsen requests emergency order to divorce husband. Let's take a listen to that video from Entertainment Tonight.
Mary-Kate Olsen wants to divorce husband Olivier Sarkozy, but the coronavirus pandemic is apparently making that difficult. The former child star and fashion designer married the French banker in 2015. A source tells ET the whole situation is, quote, brutal. According to TMZ, Mary-Kate filed a divorce petition back in April, but she learned that New York courts were not accepting divorce filings at the time, seemingly because of the COVID-19 pandemic. ET has confirmed the 33-year-old is now requesting an emergency court order to push the divorce through. TMZ claims Mary-Kate's filing this in response to Sarkozy terminating the lease on their New York City apartment. TMZ is also reporting that Sarkozy's attorneys have informed Olsen's attorneys that she has until May 18th to remove her things from their home. Mary-Kate allegedly cannot meet this deadline because of the city's pandemic guidelines. Multiple outlets are reporting that Olsen is now claiming an expedited divorce is the only way to prevent Sarkozy from getting rid of her belongings. ET reached out to both Olsen and Sarkozy's reps for comment. This was the first marriage for Olsen and second for Sarkozy. The pair began dating back in 2012 and married in 2015.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. And now let's take a look at those famous birthdays today and see which celebrities are celebrating a birthday today. And happy birthday to all of these celebrities. We hope they have a wonderful birthday and a wonderful day. Janet Jackson, 54. She is a great singer. We love her music. And thank you for watching this Saturday morning edition of Good Morning New Hampshire. Have a great rest of your Saturday, everyone. I'll see you back here tomorrow for another edition of Good Morning New Hampshire. And I'll see you back here later on today with more broadcasts. Goodbye, everyone.